lot of you guys keep asking for updates regarding my legal dispute with Netflix and Channel 4. Well, guess what, guys? It's time to meet my lawyer. Let's do this. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. I'm so excited for you guys to meet our counsel on this issue. Reyes is here. How you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. So happy to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Look, man, this is obviously something we can't talk about because we're in the midst of things. So everybody keeps asking me for updates. What am I allowed to say? As my counsel, what can I say?
Right. Well, we're working on a very good legal strategy to make you whole and give you the credit that you deserve, as well as fix this problem. I mean, look, content creators like you rely on original work, and they deserve to be rewarded for original work. It's not out there for grabs. It's particularly not out there for commercial use. And, one of the things that is most abused today is the word fair use, or the phrase fair use. So we want to teach people what fair use actually means. And we're going to do it through this.
Well, what was great when I saw Reyes is that he does a lot of this stuff, guys, and he's out there doing internet law, reputational law. He has a lot of this stuff that just made sense. And then as I spoke to him, I could just tell he was just very invested, knowledgeable, and I just liked what he had a lot to offer. So I thought, well, since we can't obviously talk about what we're planning to do or the things that we're working on because we're still working on all those things, I thought what a good opportunity to sort of talk about, well, what is fair use? What are ways that content creators out there can protect themselves in the future, et cetera, and go there. So I guess I'd love to sort of start there. Like, what are the generalities in your mind regarding fair use?
Yeah, fair use is not the hard mechanical exception to everything that people make it out to be. It's slung around like mud all the time online, particularly on YouTube, right? The reality is that when courts analyze what fair use is, there's actually 4 elements that they look at, and not a single one of them is dispositive of the issue, right? So, for example, like commercial use, when people say, well, I'm not making money on this, or this is not a for-profit. Well, that's one consideration among 4. It's not the end all be all, right? So typically under the Copyright Act, fair use has 4 elements, right? The quick and dirty version is the purpose and character of the use, and whether that use is commercial or nonprofit educational use. That's 1. The nature of the copyrighted work, right? So what is it that's actually being used and copied? The amount and how substantial of that amount relative to the overall portion of the protected content. You're using 30 seconds, you're using 5 minutes, you're using the entire thing. Finally, what's the impact that my use of this protected content is having on the overall market potential or value, right? And so you have these cases where if I grab somebody's YouTube content, hypothetically, and it's, exclusive, or it's the only content that's out there that's unique, and I share it to the world and I kind of beat the market, what have you done to my potential market for that content, right? That's one prong of the analysis for fair use as well. So those are all the things. So when people, your viewers and people, guests that are on your show, when they talk about, well, this is fair use or that was not fair use, we really need an analysis on that. And different district courts across the country, we're in the 9th Circuit, right? On, the LA, most of the production houses, California, Hollywood, you got a lot of good law coming out protecting creators in the 9th Circuit for that reason. Fair use is just a complicated area. That's the bottom line. And
it's something it's something that I want to be careful of too, because it's like a battle against fair use would seem like, well, it's a battle against what I do. But from what I do and from what I've gathered and what I do in my fair use is clear commentary, right? News and commentary, transformative. Those are the things that I've always been taught. Like, those are key parts of why, people can use moments and bits of pieces of work if we're recreating it, right? If we're transforming it, if we're adding these commentary, which is what I tend to do on this channel. When something breaks and it's a news thing, I'm there reacting and pausing and talking about it and bringing. Those are key things that are also important for a creator to do, right? Not just putting a piece of content that you don't own full screen on YouTube, unedited, is when you're going to get in trouble, correct?
Right. And so the criticism one is really interesting because the question is, what are you criticizing? Are you criticizing the creator? Are you criticizing the content? Or are you criticizing something else and then using content to draw eyeballs?
Yep.
Right. So again, it's like I love SNL as a good satire criticism thing. SNL, no matter what content or statement that they use that's copied, music, etc., they're probably not going to get hit with an infringement lawsuit for commenting on and criticizing that content. But you have to be careful. Creators have to be careful when, the real sort of the Trojan horse behind it is we're not really criticizing or commenting on this copyrighted piece, this original piece of something else. We're criticizing, commenting on something else, but I'm using somebody else's original content to draw eyeballs and make a splash. It's not going to probably go over very well.
Yeah, good points. And you mentioned it too, but Saturday Night Live also gets away with it because then it's parody. That's another, at least here in the States, parody is a big satire, real reason where you can. Weird Al is a perfect example of someone I always grew up like. He always claims, well, he didn't really need to get permission from the artists, but he needs, I guess, the music rights for the song. But he can go do that and get away with it if it's there. But it was interesting. It's like it's different with him. Like he has to actually make fun of the artist himself. Like Lady Gaga had a song that he did one called "Perform This Way" that was all about making fun of Lady Gaga, which was "Perform This Way" is what he did. Whereas like "Eat It" isn't really making fun of "Beat It" or Michael Jackson. The music video, right, is, but the music kind of isn't. It's using the music for food jokes. Like
right.
It's right, because that's the complication of it. But then he still gets away with Michael Jackson was a fan. Like there's things that obviously change it, but that's the complicated part of parody law or parody and fair use and all this stuff just becomes it's like you said, it's complicated. Is that the fairest way to say it?
It's complicated. It's not a simple, quick answer, and it requires an analysis, right? So the lawyers in the room are going to understand what this means. Like, yeah, that's what we get paid. That's what we went to law school. That's what our training's for. It's not for a quick and dirty, shooting from the hip. That's fair use. I'm going to use it. Doesn't always work that way. The other thing, just for listeners generally, and again, we're not talking about your legal matter. Another thing that's abused is the DMCA takedown. I'm gonna get this removed out of spite kind of thing. And what people don't understand is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act removal sort of form way of doing it, whether you type it out or you send a demand, it has a representation that you have to make that I am the owner of this content. And if you look at the bottom, if it's done correctly, you're swearing under the penalty of perjury. And according to the statute, there's a citation to the statute, section 512F, right? I think it is. But the point is, that is not to be taken lightly. So for listeners in your audience and other creators, if you're like, oh, I don't like that creator, I'm just going to make a copyright claim and get the video down. That's really bad. Arguably, it's criminal. You're making a false statement under oath. There's implications to that, right? So people need to understand that, again, creators, this is what they do. Out of spite, you should not test the waters of DMCA. And we see this all the time where people are like, oh, I just did a false DMCA takedown and that guy's YouTube video or channel disappeared. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. That's not something small. No one should take that lightly. When it's Instagram or TikTok even, I've had creators, their entire TikTok account gets wiped. And that's how they make their money. That's how they make their living. It's a really vicious thing to do to somebody.
Yeah, 100%. And it's definitely abused all the time. And that's what's so crazy, even by major studios. And I'm not even talking about what we're talking about, but just I've seen it happen in numerous experiences of creators of the studios just get to just blanket claim those things using that rule. And it's scary. And it really does affect the creators. And so, yeah, even the vengeful person, but also the major companies should know better, especially not to do that and take advantage and abuse that system. Yeah, that's where things get hairy. So yeah, I mean, any other thoughts or things you want to offer to the creators out there, advice or things that we can say sort of broadly? What's the best sort of one more tip you can sort of offer people out there to protect themselves? Yeah,
the number one tip is protect yourself, and you protect yourself by being knowledgeable on what the laws are. There's a lot of junk out there. Just like everything else, right? talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about, get some advice. If you want to take this seriously, that's going to multiply your return on investment as a creator. Second thing is you have to police your content. If somebody's using your trademark inappropriately, if somebody's damaging your reputation inappropriately, somebody's using your content inappropriately, you have to police that. A lot of people just say, I don't care, I'm going to, just duck down and do my thing. It's not the answer. It's not the answer. There are real world implications to you and as a creator. So those are the two biggest pieces of advice I would have as a high level.
No, I appreciate it. And if you like what Rais is saying here and you want to go learn more, you can follow him over on, his firm is RM Warner, rmwarnerlaw.com. And then they're on Instagram as well at RM Warner Law and on YouTube. And you guys have done some content and ideas and stuff at there as well to try to help creators. And that's part of the reason I liked Rais, is just because I could tell he gets this world. I want to make sure I could get a lawyer that did allow me to talk a little bit about this case, because obviously I don't even know if you saw it all, Rais, but the fans did amazing support. And so they're the ones who have been helping to push and make this happen. So thanks to everybody who helped us push us past our goal. And this allows us to now comfortably do the research and analysis that we need to do and proceed as we're going to proceed. So thank you to everybody who did that. But yeah, find out anything else. I know they want to know more. Anything else? Given all that we said, how about this? Given all that we said, you're feeling confident in our directions as to where we stand. Is that something you can say?
Heads will roll, as they say. Heads will roll.
Yeah, they'll love hearing that. But obviously, we can't. Why can't we? Why can't I talk about it? Can you explain that to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, the reality is that my conversations with my client are privileged, so we can't get into what we've talked about. Legal strategy is something I do not publish. I don't recommend my client talk about their legal strategy. We don't know who's watching this. We're not going to air it. And so we're not going to give anyone an opportunity to prepare in advance, et cetera. So that's why we can talk in generalities about the law and about generally advice to content creators, but we're not going to get into specifics. We can't, too risky, not a good idea.
Yeah, and that's why. So there you go. He answered it for you, and we'll try to give you what we can when we can. And I obviously want to make sure we give you guys updates as much as we can, but that's why. And at least I thought, great, meet the guy who's helping us behind the scenes, and stay tuned as we're able to tell you things. We absolutely will. Rais, I appreciate you and all the work you've done so far. Look forward to seeing where this goes, and hopefully we get it sorted out, right? That's really the goal here. This is not attempting to please everyone. I've had people saying, I'm canceling Netflix. I'm not asking you to do that. I don't know what's going on. I want to look into this. And so I will now defer to my counsel as we move forward to see what is the best way to make sure we're protecting ourselves and our content, which is what's really at stake here. Right? I feel like our content was used without permission in ways that we're going to look into for this legal dispute. So stay tuned. More is coming. If you want to be updated when we can, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for alerts, smash the thumbs up. Leave your comments down below. And if you want to support Rais or the fund, you can find the links in the description. I'll put them on there as well. Anything else you want to add? Final word?
No, just an amazing channel. Popcorn Planet's amazing. I actually have started to really watch your videos, and it's amazing. I see why people love it, and I see why people want to use your stuff. It's great.
I appreciate it. It's some people love or hate me once, but if you get connected, I feel like we do a pretty good job breaking down the pop culture news. And I love getting the experts. I'll love to bring you back at some point when we have another legal thought. If you had something you're feverish on that you're seeing out there, definitely hit me up. We'll get you back on. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more updates and more news here on Popcorn Planet.